you guys want to know what? Just to prove a point, we're going to put all the Game of Thrones shit up. Hey guys, Abby from Motor City Nerds here, and I think I need to put a disclaimer before these videos. It's just me saying, like, I do in fact really love A Song of Ice and Fire, and I do really love this show. But if you want to cry in the comments, feel free. It just cracks me up. It really does, because I'm like, really? Is this the conversation that I'm having right now? Give me 1 second, I'll be right back, and then we're going to get into this episode. We got Aemond One Eye happening now, and yeah. There's some stuff I really liked about this episode, but give me 1 second, I'll be right back. To you guys, it won't be any time at all, but yeah. Oh, and if you could like the video, that would really help, and I can't believe we're almost to 1,000, so make sure you subscribe to join the Penguin Gang, and if you don't want to, that's okay, but we have a good time over here. We're small, but we're awesome. And just to give everybody a little piece of info, books and film are different mediums, and anytime you adapt something, it's going to be different. With books, you get the inner monologues, you get all of that. In film, you only have what they show you with your eyes, and you can hear with your ears. Now, if you went up to somebody using watercolor and said, hey buddy, you gotta switch to oil pastel mid-painting, they're gonna go, those are fundamentally different mediums. And so it's the same thing with film and books. So when I critique things, I'm saying what I want. I don't care. My passion and love for this series comes into play, and my biases, and it's okay to disagree. But anyway, let's get into this. Driftmark, episode 7, House of the Dragon. I love it. I love it. And speaking of, this was a great episode for me to give that little speech in the beginning about, because I feel like these directors excel at battles and group things like the wedding, and they're very, very good at that when all of these characters are in one place at one time. And so I see why they were picked, not just because of the episodes they directed for Game of Thrones, but I can definitely see why they were picked for this story, because that's what I was saying before this aired, that I really wanted to see. Like, we get to see the Starks' little slice of life stuff in the beginning, kind of. You know what I mean? We get to see this family together. With the Targaryens, we never got that. So we get to see who's really in there for power, who's really in there because they love their family or whatever. And that is one thing I will say about this. King Viserys was giving mad mom at Thanksgiving vibes of, like, can we please be a family and just have this be nice? Viserys just wanted it to be nice. Let's get into this. Driftmark, episode 7, House of the Dragon. I love it. I love it. But we're on Driftmark. We're having Lena Valerian's funeral, so everybody's there. They have the High Valyrian speech, but we just get everybody looking at each other, who's doing what, who's with who's standing where, and I really liked it. And especially when they start talking about blood, and Daemon starts to giggle, and I was like, oh god, is Daemon losing it? And then I'm like, oh no, when I rewatched it with the everything and really read it, I'm like, oh, he's kind of mocking it, but he's also probably grieving in his own Daemon way. By having the High Valyrian and showing these traditions, it's just more of a hitting home to the audience of family, blood, that's what matters. We get to the wake afterward, and Laenor's all messed up. He's not okay. He really missed his sister. We have Rhaenys, her mom, so Corlys's wife, running into Rhaenyra and just looks at her and, like, essentially gives the side eye and walks away. I really liked Rhaenyra talking to her son and saying, you should go up to your cousins, and they just lost their mom. And then he's like, I'm mourning too. Like, I'm mourning, and you know this. And she's like, cut the shit. As somebody who was 6 years old when they lost their parent, I really loved this scene between these cousins, because it's like we heard Daemon talking openly about how this baby looks awfully like the city guard, you know, so I'm sure he doesn't hold back when his kids are around, so obviously they know that they just lost a parent too, and I just really thought that was a sweet scene between Daemon's twin adorable daughters and Jace, Rhaenyra's oldest son. Like I was saying in my last review, recap, whatever you want to call it, Helena, Alicent's daughter, is kind of like telling the future. Like, she said that he would have to shut an eye to get a dragon, and then this episode he loses an eye. That is a whole thing. How about her killing that spider? I'm like, oh god. But her brothers are talking mad shit about her. And I was comparing Aegon to Joffrey before, where I'm like, the way he reacted in the yard and screaming and yelling and stuff. Now, because apparently I brought this up, but I never did, so I don't understand why I had this comment. If you want me to get into the Targaryen madness, one of my favorite, or Targaryen tempers at least, I have a whole theory on why, if Maester Aemon would have taken the throne, the house would have never fallen. But besides that, that actor, that is one of the best scenes in all of Game of Thrones, is when Maester Aemon tells Jon Snow who he is, and you see that Targaryen flip where he gets angry, and he's like, when I heard what they did to the children, what did you think I wanted to go do? And it's like, feeble, old, blind, at the wall, this man is still like, test me. Like, I wish I could, I have that Targaryen flip to me, but I also can rein it in. Aegon II is not doing that in the yard. No, he might not be just like Joffrey, but he's Joffrey adjacent. Same thing with him jerking it at the window. That means everybody under you see beneath you. Same thing with when Kristen Cole is like, don't let him get up. And Sir Harwin beats the brakes off Kristen Cole, which was fantastic, and is like, why would you do that? That's some cowardly ass shit to teach somebody that everybody's beneath them and to pick on people weaker than them. And why are you teaching that to what you think is going to be the future king, possibly? And I don't want to hear any shit talking towards Catelyn Stark ever again after the way these adults are behaving towards these children. And Aemon's defending her. And Aegon's talking mad shit about having to marry his sister, which it's because, and then he just wants to bang everything. He's hitting on anything that moves. He's a teenage boy. But still, I'm like, you're a dick, dude. Then he gets all hammered. How about Otto Hightower gripping him up like that? And I'm like, oh, you're lucky that he thought you were his brother. I thought he was going to do something worse. I was like, oh, God. And Otto Hightower's looking rough. Oh, and Daemon had a great line to him. What did he say? No matter how fat a leech grows, it still awaits its next meal or something. Oh my God, that was great. And he was just talking shit to Otto Hightower. But this is the first scene where we see Aemond get ballsy and tell his brother, like, shove it. And then he starts talking smack to Daemon's daughters and Rhaenyra's kids. Like, sit down. But it's foreshadowing. Do we know another younger brother in this series that is going hard in the paint, who we all love? Yeah, maybe he's going to be a little bit like him. Do you guys think that Clubfoot Larys is going to get creepy with Alicent at some point? Or like try to blackmail her into something? Because that's creepy. Because Sir Christian Cole's like, he's been watching you this entire time. And she's like, yeah, I know, I'm fully aware. But then I'm like, Christian Cole, are you moving in? Because guess what? Fuck you, you fucker. Like, what a bitch. And this is what I mean about, like, slice of life / really good at shooting the group, like Corlys and Lucerys talking, the one she calls Luke, the younger of Rhaenyra's sons. When Corlys talks to him and about being Lord of Driftmark, which should not happen, I thought that was a really good thing to show because, like, it was very accurate to how you would talk to a kid in your family at a family funeral. You know what I mean? You're not talking about them becoming Lord, but you're like, hey, man, like, you know, down the road, like, it's all good and blah, blah. And then he says a total kid thing to say and is totally heartbreaking is when he says, no, because if I'm Lord of Driftmark, that means everybody's dead. And it's like, oh my God. And it's just like that's something I could hear a kid in my family say, if you know what I mean, and it would break my heart. I just felt like the conversation they had and the scenario, how it's set, was just done very well, and I really liked that. We see the dragon outline in the clouds, knowing something big is up there, and or just a dragon. Oh, and we got to see like 5 in one shot, but I'm like, can you show these up close? Because you're really making me not sympathize with the dragons, because you're not giving them like the eye motions and the up close and personal, and I know why you're doing that. I don't want to give it away to everybody. I know why you're doing that. You can go watch my other videos and find out why I think they're doing that, because I don't think you want us to get too attached to them. But we got to see 5 in one shot. It was super cool, but we see this huge thing over the clouds, and I'm like, oh my God, Vhagar. Oh my God, Vhagar. And then I realized why the ropes were there. It's because she's so big that you need them to crawl up to your saddle, and I was like, oh my God, I love Vhagar, and I love the design. It's almost like a Komodo dragon, which is one of my favesy animals, like right next to the platypus. But yeah, everybody kind of looks up for a minute and then disregards it, but I loved that Vhagar came home. Like, so Laena Velarion's dragon went home, and she just wanted to go home when she was telling Daemon, I just want to go home to Driftmark and be with my family and have my kids grow up there, and she just wanted to go home, and then Vhagar comes home. How sweet is that? After leaving some eggs behind for Daenerys to get 100 and, what is it, 72 years later? Or what is it now, 162? I don't want to get the numbers wrong! Ah! Ooh, what about Corlys snatching up Carl and being like, go and get your man. Go and get your man then. And it's like, this is where you can... That would also happen if you, at a funeral. You're grieving, so you're kind of... You might behave in a way that you normally would not. Coming from somebody who just lost, essentially, my father for the second time a couple months ago. And... God, I miss him every day. So I'm sorry if I've been snappy with you in person lately. Or, like, not answering calls. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in this. It was a lot of watching, and you had to see who was where. Because for a long time, we get, like, people saying sentences to each other, but King Viserys is over here, Rhaenyra's over here, Daemon's over here, Alicent's over here, and they're all watching each other. And I thought they did a very good job at showing us that on the screen with filmmaking, and they did a really good job storytelling with that. But it was very well done, and I liked it. And we have Rhaenyra mainly watching Daemon, but Viserys and Daemon finally talk, and I really loved that back and forth. And he's just like, just come home, Daemon. And I really think that Viserys just doesn't get it, and I really think that he has rats talking in his ears too. So sneak, dirty rat sneaks. But of course, Daemon's like, I ain't coming home, yada, yada, yada. They also do a great job with the use of time, because you have to remember in this world, to get to Driftmark takes like weeks. You know what I mean? Not, I don't know the exact time, but to travel to somebody else's castle and stuff, that takes a long period of time. Like, it's not overnight, but this did a really good job of showing this was one day. We went from morning funeral, afternoon wake, into the night, into the morning, and that's it. And they did a very good job of showing that in a world where we have to kind of guesstimate, like, oh, they've been on the road for a minute. This was good at showing this was one day. Like, they might have gotten there a few days before or something, but this whole episode took place in one day. Yeah, so we have everybody kind of going off on their own little adventure. It's this episode. It's like the Ba Sing Se episode, but we have Otto Hightower gripping up Aegon all wasted and kicking him and dragging him off to his room. We have Aemond meeting Vhagar, and I really loved that whole thing with him and finally getting his dragon. But the big one, we have Rhaenyra and Daemon, and they finally hook up, and he was like, you were a child. And it's like, okay, so that was your conundrum? Because you should have said it back then, because you're already dragging around the town, doing odd things, almost eloping with her at her wedding dance, but you didn't, I guess, so it's fair, he did, okay, but I was just like, okay, but I do also appreciate the fact that this woman's like, I want you, and very rarely do we get, especially female characters, choosing to want to do that in this world. We had a lot of brutality in the last series, so it's like, it's kind of nice to see the characters that can do that go like, that's what I want. I don't feel forced. I don't have to. That's what I want to do. Same thing with, I know a lot of people are talking about the birthing scenes. I think that they need to be there. And it's like, if you're going to throw titties at me every 2 minutes in the last series, you can show that this is a very gruesome scenario taking place. And it's life being created. And it's something that women actually go through. But some of it, I feel like the first episode, it did get gratuitous. And it was also very symbolic. But I appreciated that part of it. But I also think that it is showing in the show, like, not only you don't want to get knocked up by a Targaryen, because chances are you're not going to make it out of that pregnancy. Just saying. Look at their track record. It doesn't do well, and it's because of the incest life. And look at Daenerys' kid. Was that magic, or was that your Targaryen messed up genes? I don't know. So not only do Targaryens have trouble in the birthing bed a lot. Oh, Lyanna Stark, she died giving birth to a Targaryen baby. You know, it's just a thing that happens a lot. And but I thought it's very showing of, like, this family's having kids and stuff like that, but guess what? This feud you start between blood versus blood destroys your house, and you never recover from it. Was it worth it? So I definitely think they're trying to say something there with that, and I also appreciated that out of everybody, Daemon, the coldest one in the show, has been the only one to go. Viserys was like, yeah, kill her. Get the baby out. We'll chance it. And Damon's like, is there any way you can save the mother? Is there any way you can save her? Like, save her if you can. And he's the only one that's, like, showing any type of compassion towards his wife giving birth. And everybody else is like, chop him up. And Viserys, you're all Mr. Family, Mr. Nice, but you didn't do that. So I like that. I don't know if they meant to do that, but I like that. But I definitely think there's a meaning behind that. So I just wanted to touch on that. But we have Rhaenyra, Daemon finally hooking up. She's saying that she needs him there. It's going down. Corlys and Rhaenys made me sad because she's... I don't know if... I think Corlys really was doing that for love. Like, that's what he thought she wanted. I don't think that was for his own personal gain. And that might be my own personal bias, because I do feel like Corlys has been doing some sneaky stuff, but Corlys has been spurned by this house numerous times. He's not like the other ones. Like, he's stayed loyal and has been good to you and is the only other Valyrian house. And you've kind of snubbed them prior to what goes on in this series also. So it's like, come on. I kind of get why Corlys is pissed, but at the same time, I genuinely think that he thought that's what Rhaenys wanted, so he was trying to do that for her. But like I said in my other review, she was getting upset with him because she's like, you're not understanding that we are putting our son right in the line of fire. I also really appreciated Rhaenys saying, you need to give Driftmark to Daemon's girls. You know they're your blood. The others are not. But I did also appreciate that Corlys was like, I still don't want them slaughtered. Like, he doesn't say those words, but he implies it. He's like, I don't want to make their lives worse than they already are. And she's like, okay, we'll give them Driftmark right now at this time while they're all here so that they all know it. We get to the big part of the episode. And I really liked this because I didn't know exactly, like I said, the books on this, oh wait, is it right here? Because I never read it 7 times. I read it 4 times physically and listened to it 3 times at work, so shove it. But from the material we have, it's like we know what happens, but we don't, it's all subjective, and we don't know like exact things. Like Rhaenyra having somebody on the side was a rumor, Laenor being gay was a rumor, and now we get to see as book people that, okay, these are things that you're putting on screen, yada, 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 so they must be true. But we have Aemon's eye going out, and what a couple of shits Alicent's kids are. What a couple of shits, and a daughter you're repeating the same cycle that happened to you with. Nice. But Aemond, this little shit, he comes back from his ride on Vhagar, and runs into Daemon's daughters, and they're like, that's our mom's dragon, and he's like, yeah, bitch, you should have claimed it, and he's really rude, and she shoves him, he shoves her, and then straight decks the other girl, and I was like, this little shit beat his ass. Then we have Rhaenyra's oldest son, Jace, jumping in. Yeah, he jumps into the scuffle, he's throwing down. I'm gonna give Aemond one eye credit where credit is due. He's also throwing down. He's taking on 3 of his cousins. And I was like, this is also a super family thing that would happen. I mean, I don't know about the eye situation, but it's like, yeah, you and your cousins got in a fight at the wedding we all had to go out of town for. Like, it happens. That's what I mean. It felt like I was watching the Thanksgiving episode in Game of Thrones way. Lucerys jumps in, Luke and Jace are both squaring up with Aemond. And then Aemond was gonna bash their skulls in. And that's when one of the younger one hits him with the dirt, and then the older one comes up and takes his eye out. And I was like, hell yeah, take his motherfucking eye out. And that we do know that happens, and that's why I in my other videos you can go see, I was like, are they gonna do that while they're children on TV? I don't know if they're gonna go there when they're 11, I think, right? They're like 9 and 11 when this happens or something. And so it's like, I didn't know if they would do that or age them up a little bit. But they went there, and like I said, we know that this scenario happened. We don't know the exact context, and we also know that them getting called bastards was dropped, and it's kind of made to seem like it was a harmless joke, or like kids being kids, but in this they made it much more malicious. When he called him Lord Strong, I was like, oh, you little shit. You little shit. And either way, your brother would be king, not you, bitch. You're the younger one. And if you know the story, you know what's about to go down. Literally. So then we have a whole kerfuffle in the Great Hall, which it's very similar to Robert Baratheon when he tells Ned he has to kill Sansa's wolf for biting Joffrey. And that's the thing here. Like, okay, we'll get into that later. These people that are, you can't put your hands on the royal family. The Targaryens were offing people left, right, and center for touching them inappropriately, looking at them inappropriately. Like, think of the Hedge Knight. Like, So I'm kind of shocked at how, like, lenient a lot of these ones are being, but we have a very lenient king, so that makes sense. We get to Aemon getting sewn up, everybody's in the Great Hall, King Viserys, it's just a bunch of kids arguing. Well, then we have Rhaenyra come in and Daemon come in. Daemon don't give a shit, and I think he's kind of proud of Aemon by the end. He's like, not proud, but I think he respects him. And like I said, if you know another younger brother in this series who's a badass and kind of throws down, let me know, because maybe they might have issues being so similar. But I think that Daemon respects that Aemon could hop on Vhagar. I think he respects it. But we have Rhaenyra defending her kids. We have Alicent defending her kids, understandably, on both sides. We have Viserys trying to put his foot down, and then Rhaenyra drops the bomb of, but whatever. I was like, why would you do this in front of everybody instead of just taking your dad to the side? But I also understand being very angry, and if you call her out in front of everybody, they might buckle. You know, it's like calling their bluff, and will they... You know what I mean? But either way, she's like, well, they called my kids bastards. Now, do you remember what happened the last time a kid got called a bastard? Kind of like, wait, who was it? Joffrey? We got that happening again. So you can't do that. That's treason. That's saying that you want, that people aren't the right heirs and this and that. It's bad. It's treason. And you can die for that. Kind of like Ned. So yeah. That's a big deal. And so that's what Rhaenyra is saying when she pulls her card like that. She's like, she said this shit, Dad. And it's like, no, you can die for that. And then, did you guys see how Aemon threw his brother under the bus but was looking at his mom? Viserys knows. Viserys completely, just how they say he's ignorant to Rhaenyra, I don't think he is. I think he's very aware of how his daughter is, and that's why he doesn't say that she didn't do anything in Flea Bottom in the other episode with Daemon. He knows that his daughter was out doing something. He doesn't know with who. He doesn't know exactly what, but he knows his daughter. And all of them keep saying how he's a fool. Like when Alicent and her dad talk alone, and he's like, oh, I realized you're tough. And it's like, oh, thanks for noticing now, because you were selling me off like cattle. I think just how they say that he's fully aware of what Rhaenyra's doing, I think he's also fully aware of Alicent at this. I think this, when he sees Aemon not snitch out his mom and snitch out his brother, and I think that Viserys, that's what like sealed the deal of him going like, okay, well now I know you're officially a sneaky, shifty snake somehow. Just like how I know my own daughter isn't a perfect angel either. And then they're like, where's the father, talking about Laenor Velaryon, and they're in their house, Corlys is right there, and Alicent is like, probably off banging boys or something. And I'm like, whoa, you're in their house, why don't you cool your jets and sit down? Like, you don't gotta do all that. He's not hurting you, you asshole. I feel like everybody was picking on Laenor these last 2 episodes. I don't appreciate it. We get we have Aegon saying to King Viserys, we all know that they're bastards, like, in front of everybody. And Viserys is like, man, dude, we're one family, just make it work. This was the other thing I didn't know if they would do. I was like, will they take the eye out when they're kids? And then the other one was, are they going to have another mom say, because this is what happens, and the other mom says, I want their kid's eye, and they go to take, they know that order was given out. That's what we know. So I was like, that's why I thought they were going to age these kids up a little bit, and they didn't. They kept them at the right ages. And so it's like, yeah, no, that's a thing where she's like, bring me his eye. And that's what I mean. People hate Catelyn. At least she felt bad and was like praying over Jon's thing. And I have a whole theory that she's going to be what brings him back in the books as her last redemption. And that's what will make her arc full. And then she can die officially. But hey, what the fuck do I know? Because we got moms demanding eyeballs out of children's heads, okay? And then Sir Criston, no questions asked, is like, yeah, I'll get right on that. King Viserys, he really puts his foot down on that one, and that's when Alicent, I thought she was kind of losing it. Do you guys think that she was having a bit of a mental break? Like, seriously, like, I think she was having a bit of a mental break. And the way she tells her, like, I like that Rhaenyra spit it right back in her face of, like, yeah, and you can hide under your righteous shit. Like I said, you're that mad your friend got laid. I'm sorry that you accepted your position, and I don't blame you for that. I don't blame Alicent Hightower for that. If you've watched my other reviews, you know that I say, like, it's creepy and weird what these men were doing, and she's just complacent in this machine that's going, and Rhaenyra was like, I'm not. And I think there's some resentment there, but then I'm always back to, you were banging her dad. But Aemond did have a boss-ass moment, and when he stood up and he was like, yeah, they took an eye, but I got a dragon. And that's when they cut to Daemon, and that's what I mean. They do such a good job shooting them as a group in a big, huge group setting and getting so much across to the audience without having dialogue and stuff, because we can see it on the screen, not reading it in a book. And they cut to Daemon, and he's like I said, he looks like respect. I definitely think Rhaenyra would have done more damage and fought back. Oh, and that's what I mean. She cut the heir to the Iron Throne. She just cut the heir to the Iron Throne. You would die for that. I think that's probably going to be something Rhaenyra refers to a lot throughout, like, touching it and stuff throughout the series, I bet, which is kind of cool. But I think Rhaenyra would have done more if she didn't look right at that dagger and remember the prophecy at that moment, because I definitely think she was like, no, I'll cut your eyes out right now. I don't care. But she could hold herself together. I think Alicent just snapped and had a weak moment, but both defending their children. But I'm like, really? You want to go snatch an eyeball? I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't cut a kid's eyeball out. I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't do that. I mean, I might want to. If my nephew showed up over here with no eyeball, I might want to do that, but I wouldn't be able to do that. Or tell somebody to do that. Dear God. And like I said, people give Catelyn shit. They're about to chop out this kid's eyeball. He's 9. And your son was about to smash his head in with a rock. And even in this moment in the hall, after, like, the fights kind of died down, the people that are on each side of these people, that's kind of where they're going to end up. And then, like I said, we get Otto, the Snake Rat Hightower, and Alicent, the Snake Rat Hightower, chit-chatting alone. And he's like, I see you have some grit and you can do this. And it's like, okay, well, way to notice me now. But, yeah, I think that I just think Alicent is just... now we might see a different... I don't know. I think that she started getting plotty a long time ago. You can watch my other reviews. I hate the Hightowers. And the Tyrells. Tywin and Robert Baratheon are my favorite characters. Sorry, I'm getting tired. But we have Rhaenyra and Laenor talking, which I really liked. I liked that a lot. And she was like, we tried. Like, and I felt like this conversation brought a lot of... Like I was saying in my last video about this, I was like, I think that Laenor and Rhaenyra might not romantically love each other, but there's definitely a respect and a love there, and we definitely got to see that this episode, and I really liked it. And we find out that she did try to have kids with him, and she wished that she could, and it's like, and then when he said, I wish I wasn't, the gods wouldn't have made me this way, and she's like, no, you're perfect the way you are. I really loved that back and forth, especially when she's like, you're a good man with a good heart. And you're a good husband, and that's rare to find. And it's like, yeah, because he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And that's why I'm like, I really, truly think that Corlys is the same way when he's talking to Rhaenys. I think that he truly thought this is what she wants. And I would have given up and kept building silver turrets over here for her and remodeling the house for her dragon garage I'm building her and doing what I want on the seas and running shit. But I thought she genuinely wanted this. I truly think that's how Corlys felt. But I could be wrong and biased. Even when Laenor said, I love the boys. Like, I think he genuinely does. And we get to everybody leaving. And we have Alicent and the King. He ain't doing good. I don't know if he'll make it to King's Landing. Then we have Alicent and Sir Criston, and then Alicent and Clubfoot. And it's just all bad news. But we also see all these dragons taking off at once, which is super cool. And we cut back to Rhaenyra and Daemon. Once again, being super traditional, speaking in High Valyrian, she's saying, I'll take another husband like Aegon the Conqueror, but I don't want to hurt him. And that's why when they faked the death, at first I was like, oh my God, are they trying to make it look like the Targaryens did something messed up? Because their tradition is to be put into the water, and they burned the body, which is a Targaryen tradition. And then I was like, or is this to cover up? Just like, when did they do that? Oh, at the end of season 2 of Game of Thrones with Bran and Rickon, and Theon kills 2 farmer boys instead of Bran and Rickon and burns them so nobody can tell who they are. He got to dip out with his boyfriend, which I thought was lovely and nice, but Rhaenys and Corlys' breakdown made me so sad. That broke my heart. That made me so sad. I felt so bad for them. But now they're definitely pissed, and yeah. And then we have Rhaenyra and Daemon doing this I'm assuming they're going to say this is some very old Valyrian tradition. Because I've been saying, and I understand, like I said, because when you adapt things and on screen, and you want metaphors and things to come across, you have to show the audience that. And like I've been saying with the birthing scenes and things like that, just like that, in the opening credits, the symbolicness of the blood and our family and our name going on is a major factor. I don't think they used blood in their old traditions. I think that the North did. But I could be wrong, but this looked like a very old school, high Valyrian wedding deal going on with Daemon and Rhaenyra, and we have the whole voiceover, Laenor taken off, and I really loved all of that put together. It was very well done. Daemon telling her they have to fear you. Like, they have to. I also really liked Rhaenyra saying, fire took both of our loves, and it's so weird because we're built on fire, and fire did this for us, and fire did that for us, but it's this. And all I could think of was Avatar The Last Airbender and being like, well, fire's life too. Dancing dragon. But all in all, I really, really liked this episode. I haven't watched the preview for the next one, so I might react to that really quick, but I don't know yet. But either way, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. I'm getting tired. Oh yeah, talking shit. Never mind. I don't know if that's not nice to do. Oh, but I want to say this, like, this is what I mean. I get great comments, like, from Persephone Personified. I love that name. It's awesome. And we don't always have, we disagree, but they leave intelligent comments with good points, and I like it. And Vanessa Lore, and there's a few people. I love all my comments. Everybody who comments, I really do. I love all of you so much. But like, we have differing opinions and different biases, and I love that the most. Like, that's what makes this fun, and especially this show, to be going like, because book readers and people watching alike, like, we have preconceived notions, and we're split in the fandom about this stuff. Now you're bringing in the normies who just watch the show, and I love it, and it's just fun and this is why it's called Motor City Nerds and not Abby whatever. It's because I work on the assembly line, and we're all yelling up and down the line about stuff, and what we like, and what characters we like, and whether it's surface level, or, you know, every little thing about this thing, and that thing, or this comic, or this book. That's the fun part. So I like having that back and forth, but if you're just being a prick, I'm going to tell you you're being a prick. I will try and answer if you even ask a question or say something intelligent. I will try to respond to it as best as possible. But if you're just being an ass, I'm just going to tell you you're being an ass. If you're just showing up and going like, hey, stupid lady saying words, I think you're stupid because you're a lady saying words, that's fine. But you don't have to click on my shit. Like, it's cool if you do. But, like, just so you know that I just think it's ridiculous. And I love the debates. Like I said, I get some great comments that I love. But then I have some weird stragglers come in, and I'm like, what? And then, oh my god, the best was I got yelled at on TikTok. I'm sorry, I didn't know that people who made just Game of Thrones content were called rawrists. I thought that was some stupid MySpace bullshit from 2002. And I was like, that's some whack ass shit. No, I'm not a rawrist. And then, like, 2 or 3 people got all mad on TikTok. They were like, well, you on a real fucking Asylum Fire content creator. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not, because I don't have a top 8, and I don't know what that word means. Maybe I'm old, but I'm okay. And I just thought it was strange. I thought it was made up. And then I made a post about it on Facebook, and people were like, oh, no, that's a thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm sorry if I'm not rawrist enough for you guys, but I'm not going to use those terms. Plus, I got tons of stuff on the channel. We're about to cover Interview with a Vampire. That'd be a blast. I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. I'm on OF. I'm on... What else am I on? All my TikTok. All that shit's down below. Like... Yeah. Everybody stay safe out there. Subscribe. I appreciate it. Like the video. Dislike the video. Leave a comment. Leave a penguin in the comments. I appreciate that. Yeah. Stay safe out there. Oh, and tomorrow, Interview with a Vampire. I'm excited for that.